So good morning and welcome to the Arizona Lithium Investor Webinar. I'm Jane Morgan, the Investor and Media Relations Manager, and today I'm joined by Managing Director Paul Lloyd and Executive Director Zach Maurer, who'll be providing a company update. To ask a question throughout today's presentation, please use the Q&A function, which can be found at the bottom of your screen. Paul, I'll hand over to you.
Thanks, Jane, and good morning, shareholders. Thank you for your time, and we'd like to focus today on updating our shareholders on the good work that Zach and his subsurface team have been completing up at the Prairie project in Saskatchewan, Canada. I was up there recently, and we are so happy that this project is just over the border from the US. It is a very encouraging environment for business, and particularly because we're in an oil and gas producing region. So we are advancing this project very quickly, and it really is a pleasure to be operating in Saskatchewan. So I would like to play the video that we recently released and then talk about how we're going to implement that. So I know some shareholders would have seen the video, but we would like to just play it again and then commence the discussions on the Prairie project. Thank you.
Concentration technologies. The concentrated lithium solution is then converted into a lithium carbonate using conventional conversion methods. Once converted into a lithium carbonate, it can be packaged up and sold to the market.
All right, thank you for that. I think we didn't get all the audio, but Zach and myself can help out with that. We know this project extremely well, Zach being the vendor of the project. And we just take a step back before we get too technical and just have a look at what we have at the Prairie project. We have a terrific environment to work in. We have 390,000 acres of Crown land, so a much simpler land ownership system than we have in the US, and one that can be operated efficiently and effectively. We do have a world-class resource at the Prairie project, 6.3 million tonnes of lithium carbonate equivalent, and that's about 6.5 years of worldwide consumption. That consumption is growing rapidly, and there's been a lot of negative press out there in the lithium world recently. Well, I'm not sure all of that is all that accurate. We see a lot of demand for investors and large super majors entering into the Prairie project with us at a joint venture sort of level. So we haven't seen any reduction in that interest for Prairie. So if shareholders are concerned about that, I'm not too concerned. I'm not selling. I've been in it for 10 years, and I see this as just another cycle in the lithium space that happened in 2019, 2020, and long term, the lithium industry looks like a terrific industry and a great growth industry. So I would urge shareholders to stay in there. We do have a particularly good project at Prairie. What else have we done at Prairie? With that resource, we have to monetize that resource. We've done a lot of direct lithium extraction testing with our pilot plant, And we've done a lot of analysis of the work that was done at that pilot plant at our Lithium Research Centre, where Zach is calling in from today. A lot of work in the background in regards to fast tracking the development of Prairie. And this is a world-class project. It's getting a lot of interest from many different investors across different industries, but particularly the oil and gas super majors. So our director based in New York, Matt Blumberg, is dealing with those inquiries and access to the data room, questions, huge amount of work. And it's very encouraging the amount of due diligence that those companies are doing. I get some questions about offtake agreements, and I do mention it to shareholders that call me directly, that an offtake agreement is not something that we're urgently looking for in this current market, because that takes other players out of the market. People want this product. It's a high quality product. And if we signed an offtake with a smallish sort of company, that would take some of the bigger players away. That would not be positive for shareholder wealth creation. All the directors are large shareholders, and we're very focused on shareholder wealth creation. So that's how we're advancing the Prairie project. We need to drill more holes, and that's where the work over the last 3 to 6 months has come in. We've learned a lot about the resource, and we're continually learning. Some of the investors said we needed to drill more holes. That's what we're doing to de-risk the project. Our total focus is on the production by 2025. So we need to finalise our flow sheet and monetize that huge resource that we have at Prairie. It's exciting times, and I can understand shareholders may get a little frustrated, but we are doing a lot of work, and we want to let the shareholders know the amount of work we're doing. So I'll hand over to Zach to talk about the work that he's doing in Canada, and then we'll come back to questions and answers.
Yeah, thank you, Paul, and thank you everyone for calling in. I'm talking to you here from our Lithium Research Center here in Tempe, Arizona, where our laboratory and pilot plant teams are executing the work that's required to support our project. Speaking in more detail to the Prairie Lithium project, as Paul mentioned, the team has kicked a lot of goals recently, and we're very happy and very impressed with all of our progress here to date. We have a tremendously hardworking group of individuals, and we're very fortunate to be supported by our local community and vendors and contractors and all aspects of our project in Saskatchewan. So speaking in more detail to some of our milestones over the last few months, we've proven the production of battery grade lithium carbonate from Duper O'Brien in Saskatchewan. And as Paul mentioned, we're seeing a strong interest for samples from potential off-takers. We've drilled and tested the Duper production well at Pad 1. We've drilled and tested our disposal well at Pad 1. And now we've initiated drilling of our third well bore at Pad 1, which will round out our initial well infrastructure that's required to support commercial scale direct lithium extraction at Pad 1. And what I mean by that is we've got the wellbore infrastructure in place to produce and dispose of high volumes of Duper O'Brien, as well as that brackish water source well, which is required to feed an RO system, which is required for the direct lithium extraction process. So also really important to mention, for our next step of commercialization is that we have released that we are conditionally approved for up to $21 million in an investment incentive as released by the Saskatchewan government. That's the Critical Mineral Processing Investment Incentive. For the launch of this program, Paul and I were actually able to host the Minister of Energy and Resources, Minister Ryder, at our facility in Saskatchewan, where we hosted a press conference around the launch of that new program for critical minerals in Saskatchewan. It's a very well-attended event. So this program is really important to Pad 1 because what that indicates is that every eligible dollar spent developing Pad 1 essentially equals 15% back to the project in the form of a transferable royalty credit. And we can monetize those royalty credits for non-dilutive cash proceeds as we develop Pad 1 on the project. So it's a really important investment incentive that we're conditionally approved for at Pad 1. To expand on more details associated with the drilling program, The drilling program has been a main focus of the company in the last couple of months. As everybody knows, we are targeting the Dupro formation for our brine production. So we drilled our first well of our drilling campaign as an exploration well into the Souris River formation, which is a formation that directly lies below the Dupro formation. The exploration results from the Souris River formation did result in the discovery of a new lithium-enriched zone beneath the Dupro, where the Souris River formation samples came back at a assay of 86 milligrams per liter lithium. So although it's not quite as high as a grade of what we're seeing in the Dupro brines, it is still a very competitive grade when compared against lithium brine concentrations here in Western Canada. So we're going to continue to explore the Souris River formation across pads 2 and 3 in the coming months. That first well was then converted into our Dupro production well, where we perforated our production intervals within the well. So what we do is we perforate the holes at our intended targets, and then we run a pump into the hole. So an electronic submersible pump, or an ESP as we call it. And then we pumped that well at 350 liters per minute, or 500 cubic meters of brine per day for approximately 5 days. Now, pumping those high volumes of brine gives us two critical pieces of information. So the first piece is it allows us to monitor how that Dupro formation is behaving as we're producing high volumes of fluid. And how we do that is we can monitor the fluid drawdown in the wellbore. We can monitor the pressures in the wellbore, and then we can apply that information to make sure that we're drilling and completing our Dupro wells as optimally as possible across our project area. So this first Dupro well exceeded our expectations in terms of productivity, as was measured by very little fluid drawdown in the wellbore, followed by a very strong pressure response after pumping. So overall, that's a major milestone for the project in getting that first Dupro well drilled on pad 1, pump tested, and exceeding expectations in terms of the productivity of the Dupro formation at pad 1. So the second piece of critical information that we get from doing these long duration, high volume pump tests is we get to see exactly how that brine is going to behave at surface. As it's pumped from 2.4 kilometers underground, it gets to surface. We can understand exactly what the temperature is at surface, what the chemical constituents are, so that we can finalize the detailed design of the facility. So we've confirmed at pad 1 all of the things that we need to confirm about the Dupro brine, so that we can finalize the detailed design of our facility for pad 1. So overall, very happy with the Dupro results at pad 1. The next well that we drilled was an exploration well into the Dawson Bay formation, which lies directly below the Souris River formation. So those results are currently being analyzed, and we will release those results upon the completion of analysis. But more importantly, that well was then converted into a disposal well, where we perforated specific intervals within Mississippian stratigraphy, so further uphole in the wellbore. And then we proceeded to pump high volumes of Dupro brine into those disposal targets to make sure that our disposal targets were capable of taking the amount of Dupro brine that's required at pad 1. So the field results from the disposal well were very positive. And again, the detailed results are being analyzed, and they will be released upon completion of the analysis. So it's a very exciting past couple of months as we test the production and disposal capacity of our resource at pad 1. It allows us to finalize the detailed design of that facility and ultimately look forward to facility construction after the detailed design. Tied to that facility is obviously the DLE piece and the need for RO water to strip lithium from the lithium extraction material, as you would have seen in the video that we played earlier. And that's where our third well comes into play, and our third well that we're currently drilling. So having these 3 wells on pad 1 means that we have a production well, we'll have a disposal well, we'll have a brackish water source well that can feed into an RO system to provide that strip solution for the DLE process. So having these 3 wells in place at pad 1 means that we have all of the initial wellbore infrastructure to put Dupro brine into production and deploy DLE at commercial scale at pad 1, and then scale up from there. So we will continue to drill exploration wells across pads 2 and pads 3 in the coming months, in parallel to the work that we are going to be launching on the facility at pad 1. So when it comes to our facility, again, we've mentioned this multiple times, and Paul mentioned it earlier in this webinar, we are operating in a very robust oil and gas region where producing and processing and disposing of these large volumes of brine is nothing new to the area. As I've mentioned in previous chats, a lot of oil wells in southeast Saskatchewan are 95 to 98% brine water cut. So handling large volumes of brine is it's not new to the area. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel when it comes to facility design. We simply need to make sure that our facility is set for lithium extraction as opposed to hydrocarbon extraction. So with our goal to start facility construction in 2025 and deploy commercial scale DLE at that facility on Pad 1, it's a very exciting, very active project where we have a lot of great initiatives in motion, and we look forward to keeping everybody updated as we continue to advance our project in the coming months.
Thanks, Zach. Good summary. And there's a lot of work goes into analysing the information coming out of these wells. And the third well does create that proof of concept. So it gives us the ability to produce lithium carbonate at the wellhead from a oil and gas brine material. And at the present time, we would appear to be the most advanced in North America in regards to that. So it would be make us very happy if we can beat some of these very large companies to that milestone, and we are looking very positive for that. I do sort of, I hope shareholders have looked at some of our videos, because when you go out to the drill site and you look around and you see oil and gas facilities in every direction, I think maybe some of that's lost on the market, in that if Zach needs any equipment for the drilling operation, it's immediately available in a nearby town. And the oil and gas experience and knowledge of the operators is very impressive. And if you drove past our Pad 1 and you saw the third hole being drilled, residents and individuals would just assume it's another oil and gas well. It's happening all the time. No one would even know it's lithium, because it's exactly the same business model as the oil and gas guys are doing. And that's a huge benefit for engaging of stakeholders. Stakeholders are very positive in this area in regards to what we're doing. And in fact, they're very interested in finding out how does all this work, and we're more than happy to explain it. So it's very encouraging. And as I said previously, the government of Saskatchewan are very encouraging of what we're doing there, and that does help us fast track the project, no doubt. So if you compare what we have at the Prairie project in Saskatchewan to some of the other brine projects around in, say, particularly South America, they have very little infrastructure. We have absolutely as much infrastructure as we require, and can bring that infrastructure in at very short notice. So life is short, and I like to have a good life, and we can have a good life building this project out. So exciting to basically kick down the can down the road on the 2025 production target. And as we go into early in 2025, we'll really accelerate that production side, as Zach said, with the DLE and the building of the plant. So looking forward to updating shareholders with some exciting videos of actual construction going on. And we're very focused on that, and we see that the lithium market will improve in a general way. But if you go back to our PFS on the Prairie project that was released late last year, our operating costs are extremely low. And so we would like to see a commodity price around $20,000, but at our low operating costs, we can still fund this project and we would still be very profitable. So we look forward to a recovery in the general lithium market. The sentiment for lithium is starting to recover, I believe. I hope we've hit the bottom, and I think we have. And as I mentioned, I think it's just a repeat of 2019, 2020. And if you think that maybe it's over, well, I don't see that the EV revolution is going anywhere. And I don't see that the governments of the world are still committed to net zero emissions by 2050. To do that, you need to electrify the the economies of the world. And to do that, you need lithium. So we are really in the box seat